Wales don't want England winning the title on their patch. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. I think it was David Jenkins who came out and said that during the week that Wales definitely do not want England claim the title at the Principality, and they're going to do everything they can to try and stop them. So maybe good motivation for them, but it sometimes when you're not in the best form yourself, just spoiling somebody else's fun can be motivation, I guess. But this one is Wales versus England, Saturday, 15th of March, 2025. It's at the Principality Stadium. It's a 4:45 kickoff. Last year, it was England 16, Wales 14. And in 2023, Wales 10, England 20. And I think certainly Ireland, if they've any chance of winning the title, would like the scoreline to be something similar to that, meaning that England wouldn't get a winning bonus point. But the odds, Wales 37-10, so basically 3.7-1, and England 18-5 on for the win. 35-1 is the draw. Okay, so let's have a look down through each of the teams. I'm going to start, let me pick up the home team, the Welsh team. So front row is Nicky Smith, Elliot D, Wilgriff John. Second row, Will Rowlands and David Jenkins. Back row, Aaron Wainwright, Jack Morgan and Tulupe Faletau. The halfbacks, Tomas Williams and Garrett Anscombe. Left wing, Joe Roberts. The centres, Ben Thomas and Max Llewellyn. Right wing is Elliot Mee. Fullback is Blair Murray. On the bench then they have Dewi Lake, Garrett Thomas, Kieran Azarati, Teddy Williams, Tommy Raffel, Roger Williams, Jared Evans and Nick Tompkins. Okay, now let's have a look at the England team. So front row, Ellis Genge, Luke Cowan-Dickey, Will Stewart. Second row, Maro Itoje and Ollie Chesham. The back row, Tom Curry, Ben Curry and Ben Earl. The halfbacks, Alex Mitchell and Finn Smith. Left wing, Elliot Daly. The centres, Fraser Dingwall and Tommy Freeman. Right wing is Tom Roebuck and fullback is Marcus Smith. On the bench then we have Jamie George, Finn Baxter, Joe Hayes, Chandler Cunningham South, Henry Pollock, Tom Willis, Jack Van Poortvliet and George Ford. Okay, so let's look at how the teams have changed compared to last week and how that might affect things. So Wales again, unchanged team last week and not too many changes this time either, and probably from their point of view they feel like the change they made should be positive. So Aaron Wainwright starting at 6, which means Jack Morgan moves to 7 and Raffel is on the bench. So Wainwright, another good carrying option for them, busy around the ruck as well, and I think again a positive thing. And then with Raffel coming off the bench, he could have decent impact there too. And Morgan moving to 7, I think will be good for him as well. So, it means maybe less in terms of like poaching options for them, but I think more balance to their back row, and overall that should be good. Especially, Faletau seems to be coming back to test fitness and kind of form as well. He has looked a little bit leggy in some of the games, but last time out looked pretty decent. Then Joe Roberts is onto the left wing in place of Rogers, and Elliot Mee switches to the right wing. So Roberts, had to come on for much of that game against Scotland anyway, and he did a pretty decent job. And himself and Mee on those wings, I think decent options out there in the width, and I think Roberts, I think his first professional start maybe on the wing. He obviously played 70 minutes or something last week, but he generally you would expect him to be in the centres, and he did say that he had some issues out there in terms of made a few errors, but overall enjoyed the experience. But England definitely will be looking at that as something that maybe they're going to be able to exploit. So we'll see how that works. But you would expect him to kind of wander off his wing as well and go look for work. He's not going to be just stuck out there waiting for the game to come to him. And then you have Nick Tompkins then coming onto the bench as well for them. So, the centres definitely has been kind of a churn area for Wales. But, at least the starting centres, it's kind of settled at the minute. Doesn't mean it's going to be settled forever, but they're not having as much churn. So Tompkins on the bench, maybe not terrible, and it doesn't mean he's going to come on at centre anyway. Or he might come on at centre and somebody shift somewhere else as well. So you have to keep an eye on that. But it means again more kind of continuity for Wales. And they kind of needed that. Given how volatile things were under Gatland. I know already poor Gareth Anscombe came back in, really steadied the ship for them, and already people are saying, he shouldn't be there. We need to try somebody else at 10. But he's there just as a transitional thing, I think. This is Matt Sharrett's last game as interim coach for Wales. Hence, I'm wearing Cardiff blue to kind of in his honour as well. I think he's done a fantastic job there, and I'm sure Cardiff fans probably. You don't know. Maybe some will be all right because it's the national lead or whatever. But if he was called on a permanent basis, because you can see Cardiff are definitely improving under him as well. But it's kind of watch the space, I think. And it could be, that even though at the moment this is his last game as interim head coach, it could be that he maybe comes back or stays on or over the summer tour as well, and with somebody then appointed for the November internationals. That's a possibility as well. But at the moment, at least, it's going to be his last game for them. But we've seen Wales certainly have improved under him. More attacking intent. Defense definitely needs work. Scotland kind of highlighted that pretty well in the first half last week. But then, as I said, attacking, it's night and day compared to under Gatland, really, for them. And, on the bench as well, they showed against Scotland that a lot of those guys that are there now will have impact when they come on too. So let's then talk about change that England have made. So Luke Cameron-Dickey starts again at hooker. Jamie George, who won his 100 cap last time out, back down to the bench. Two kind of very different hookers, but I think the way England use them is good, because George can come on now in the second half, and we know he's not going to play. Even hookers get changed anyway, right? But I think he's better off the bench at this point of his career, and he can come on, and generally you expect that the line-out is going to go well and the scrum is going to be more powerful because he's in there as well. Then Ben Curry in at 7, Ben Earl moving to 8, which means Tom Willis drops down to the bench. So it means you got both Curry brothers in the back row. They did that against Ireland as well. They poached a lot of ball against Ireland, but the problem was that England didn't do anything with it when they poached it. It was only in the latter stages of that game where England got their tries towards the end, where they changed the back row anyway. So having those two on there definitely will mean that they're going to be a threat to Wales's ball. Wales are going to have to maybe commit more men to the ruck to make sure that they secure the ball. But England this time, if they do turn ball over, they've got to be able to actually do something with it, and not just kick it away. So we'll see how that actually works out for them. And then Ben Earl there, switching to 8 as well. I thought Willis did pretty well last time out, so I'm not sure why he's the guy that has to make way. I'm not saying Ben Earl was bad. I'm just saying that I don't know why he's made the change in the first place. maybe he does want to go after Wales's ball, slow it down, turn it over, win penalties, etc. But it does mean that the back row now is unbalanced again, and it means it's not settled again. And it means you're kind of opening up more debates over, who should be in there. And then if it's a loss, then you're the way English media and some fans work is that, then it's basically has to be all changed once again, right? And you're back to square one. So we'll see how it actually goes, for them. Then, a lot of switching in the back line as well. So Daly moves to the left wing. Slightholme is out of the 23. I thought, again, a little harsh on him. He has been finding his way to the try line. Maybe defensively, not the soundest, but a lot of wingers kind of have difficulty defending anyway. Then Tommy Freeman moves to 13, in place of the injured Ollie Lawrence. Wish him a speedy recovery. Then Tom Roebuck comes in on the right wing, and then Marcus Smith is back into the starting 15 at full back. So lots of changing around. People were talking about as well. I saw how, why didn't they just put Daly in the centres and leave Freeman out on the wing? But, Freeman has played there for his club as well. And you look at kind of the back line now, there's a lot of Northampton Saints players in there as well. So that cohesion should definitely help them, even though there has been a lot of kind of, moving around in the back line. Having all of those guys in there should definitely help with cohesion for them. And, Daly, though, is one of those players now where he's been doing decent things. Like he got the winner at the winning try against France. He got the winning try a few years ago. Well, probably a bit more than that. In the Principality against Wales as well. But he's one of those players now that there are a lot of people just waiting for his next mistake to be able to say, oh, this guy, what's he even doing in the squad? So he's kind of at that stage of his career where, all the good things he does, he'll get a little bit of praise for, but the bad things that he does, the mistakes he make, will be absolutely, pounced on. And when a player kind of gets to that level, like the same with Owen Farrell, I'd imagine as a player, you kind of get to the point where it's like, is it really worth the hassle anymore? Like to be in the squad, but not necessarily, always starting and sometimes not into 23, etc. And maybe, you could see him possibly calling time for his career if things get a little bit worse than that. But I think he's been a decent player for England down through the years. Like he was a really good player for the Lions as well. At one point in his career too. And I don't get the way people can kind of turn on their own players like that. Like I think there's a difference between just saying, listen, I don't think this player should be in the team because of X, Y, Z, to the kind of vitriol that comes out against certain players. I don't think it's right, and the guy has been a great servant to England. But I kind of feel like if there is a mistake from him in this game, it's probably going to be really jumped on by certain people as well. But then you've got Roebuck coming in on the wing, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes in the Test arena. Marcus Smith back at full back, so certainly counter attacks. He should be all over that. But then defensively, you're wondering how strong he's going to be back there. But then you look at with injuries and stuff, you look at, well, what other options do England have to have somebody back there that you can absolutely, rock solid at the back? Not really anyone there, right? That's currently available, at least. So they probably decided that, Smith's attacking is more upside than anyone else is kind of defending back in that position. So that's what they've gone for. So we'll see how that goes. Then Ten Hill drops out of the 23. Not sure why he was included in those match day squads. I think it was 3 games or something he was picked on the bench for, and he got maybe 10, 15 minutes over all of them. So, for me, if somebody's on your bench, they have to be an option for you to bring on for at least 10 minutes in the game. So he can, again, another guy can kind of feel a little hard done by, in that respect, because just completely dropped out of the 23 without probably feeling like he ever really got a fair crack at the whip. Then Henry Pollock comes in onto that bench. He is a young, exciting player that could be fantastic. It's one of these ones where he could come on and he could just, tear it up, and everybody is thinking he's absolutely amazing. But then it could be something similar, like if you look at Chandler Cunningham South, right, when he first of all announced himself in the Test Arena in the Six Nations, looked absolutely fantastic. But now, you wouldn't put him at kind of that top level anymore, and there are people kind of questioning why he still retains his place. So it could be an amazing debut for him in the Six Nations, or he could get targeted. But he is, for a young lad, he's very strong as well. So he's not just going to get I think sat on his ass too often, and he might embarrass some older, more experienced players as well, on the opposite side too. So we'll have to definitely keep an eye on that. But it does mean that that back row dominates the bench as well. They don't really have an out-and-out second row on the bench. They've got 3 back rows on there, and all 3 can kind of, would be kind of, eights, or have played 8 at some point, and then, so you don't really have a kind of a 6 option on the bench really either, in terms of trying to balance things back up. Like you could, obviously, Willis could come on, and then you could go back to the back row that they had before, that at least has some balance on that, and then Earl can switch, and then you can keep one of the Currys there at 6, and at least in terms of the skill sets, you got more balance there. But yeah, a bit strange there on the bench. And then with like a 6-2 split, you're thinking, okay, well, first of all, who's covering the second row? Like, is that going to be Pollock that's going to go in there, or are you just going to get Cunningham South as a jumper for the lineup? But and is he going to pack down in the second row at the scrums? Then you're thinking as well, if you look at, then you got George Ford on the bench there as well, who's ostensibly covering 10, but then you got Finn Smith, who's a 10, and Marcus Smith, who can cover 10 at 15 as well. Then there's talk about, well, does that mean that Ben Earl is going to switch to centre the way he did last time out as well? If they have to rejig the backline for that. So George Ford on the bench is kind of a strange one for me. He's a fantastic player. He's another guy like Owen Farrell and like Daly's kind of getting at the moment. He's gotten a bit more than Daly actually in terms of that vitriol. People not really valuing his contribution to the team just because he's not. Basically, his problem was he wasn't Marcus Smith. Right, that was the main thing. It felt like to me was that Marcus Smith was there, he was there, right, and Marcus Smith was there, Owen Farrell was there, and Owen Farrell left, and certain people thought, oh, okay, well now Marcus Smith should definitely be the number 10, and then George Ford came in and actually did pretty well. But then again, it was one of those ones where any problems, mistakes he had, people would jump on it, right, and simply because I think they weren't being fair to him. I think they were just looking at ways to put the argument forward for Marcus Smith to be the number 10 and George Ford to be out. Talking about his kicking, etc. But he's that type of 10, right? He's kind of similar to Finn Smith in a way, in terms of he's a facilitator for other players. He's not a flash player. He's got a decent kicking game in terms of tactical kicking as well. But he's not a Marcus Smith who is going to kind of, goose step and go around, slalom his way through half the opposition team and score a try. He's not going to do that, but he may give the pass that sends a centre, through a gap, and then they pop it off to someone else to score. That's kind of his style, similar to Finn Smith. So he's obviously there to cover Finn Smith so that if Finn Smith is injured, they can kind of continue that facilitator role at 10 and leave Marcus Smith at 15. That would be my guess as to why he's on the bench. But yeah, 6-2 split for England. So again, going more and more, we're seeing the benches of a lot of teams shifting, the split more towards having more forwards on the bench. Compared to before, like normally, a lot of teams before at least 5-3 would be the norm, right? Now it's 6-2 and we're seeing 7-1, and I'm just waiting for the box 8-0. That is definitely coming. I can guarantee that. But England in this one, then that's kind of the changes that they made. Now let's talk about how both teams are kind of coming into this game. So Wales, first of all, very positive second half against Scotland, but a poor first half, and they can't have a poor first half against England because it's going to be game over. It's going to be one of those ones where they run in some consolation scores in the second half, but the game will be lost, round about the 50-minute mark or so. So definitely have to have a better start than they've had in pretty much all of their games. Other than Ireland, they kind of started pretty well against Ireland. But every other game, definitely going to have to improve on those starts. Again, the players talked about stopping England winning the title in their home stadium, and the fans are going to want that as well, but as well, the fans obviously desperate for a win. Who wouldn't be for your team to win, right? But I think another good performance from them, certainly would keep that kind of feel-good factor that has come back since Jarrett has taken over on a temporary basis, and then kind of bring that in, to the kind of summer tour as well, where I feel like they should get at least one win against Japan. And then from there, then the losing streak is done, and they can kind of continue building without that kind of that weight on their shoulders of that longer and longer losing streak. But they obviously did absolutely love to end it in this one. Fighting words again from David Jenkins saying, we don't want to let England win the title at the Principality. And, but again, I think the main thing for Wales is performance. If they can get the performance and then the win comes on the back of that, I think that's certainly going to be, much better for them in terms of long-term development. Obviously, if it was a dire game and they win it by a penalty right at the end or something, you're going to be delighted. Why wouldn't you be delighted? I've been there with Ireland before, right, where we've been terrible and we somehow scrape a win, and it feels like we're world champions. It's just an amazing feeling when that kind of, for at least for a little while, because if your team is doing poorly, you're probably, the next loss isn't too far away, right? But I can definitely sympathise with that. But then let's talk about England. So England know, given how things look in the table, they probably need a bonus point win to claim the title for this. Basically, if they're to give themselves the best chance of winning the title, bonus point win is what they need. Now, in terms of the best hope of winning the title is for them to win with a bonus point and then Scotland to beat France. That's kind of their main avenue to the title. If that happens, then England will be champions, because they'll already be ahead of Ireland, no matter what Ireland do against Italy, and they'll be ahead of France, because they're only 1 point behind France, and they'll have gotten 5 points out of the game. And if France don't beat Scotland, then the maximum they can get out of that game is 3. So England would win the title by a point. And then the other thing to think about is there's a massive, in terms of points differential, there's a massive difference of 86 to make up between themselves and France. So if France were to win without a bonus point and England won with a bonus point, they'd be both on the same match points. But then England would basically have to win by at least 88 points to actually pip France to the title. Because if France had a win but with no bonus point, it means that that differential of 86 will have increased to 87 at least. Because if they've won, they've had its win by at least 1 point, right? And then England will have to beat that, so they have to win by 88 points. So not very likely. Maybe like if it was the Wales that started the tournament, they might have thought that they had some kind of chance of that. But I don't think this Wales at the moment are going to ship that many points. So the other thing is, are we going to see more of the play that we saw against Italy, or is it going to be a tighter game from them? You would expect with Marcus Smith at fullback that the plan definitely is, to focus more on attack, instead of keeping the game tight. And the fact that they pretty much know they need a bonus point win, that is kind of, for me, a sensible idea if that is what they're going for. But one thing definitely is England are definitely going to kick. They're going to kick a lot, and they're going to do box kicks a lot. And they've done it all through the tournament. Whether they won games, whether in ball in hand they were expansive or not, one of the kind of constants has been the box kick from 9, and they've kicked the most of any team in the tournament. But they've also, in terms of average kick length, have been the shortest kickers in the tournament, because a lot of their kicks are box kicks, and I don't think that's going to change against Wales. There's a reason why they're doing it. They're looking to create kind of broken field situations where they get up there. They're not necessarily looking to win clean ball. What they're looking to do is either force a knock-on mistake for the opposition, or kind of just bat the ball back on their own side, have a little bit of broken field there, and then have the likes of, Finn Smith being able to put someone through a hole, or Marcus Smith being able to go through a hole himself. That's really what a lot of that is about. So we're not going to see that changing, I think, for this. And then I think as well with England, something to bear in mind is the fact that, they've improved. Probably the only team actually that have kind of been improving game on game through the tournament, right? They poor start against Ireland, finished the game well. Then onto the Scotland game. Not a brilliant performance, but they found a way to win. Against France against France. Not the best performance. France left a lot of points out there, but England found a way to win. Same against Scotland, except I think England, in terms of the differential, in terms of performance, England's better against Scotland than they were against France. And then against Italy, then seen more expansive play from them, and definitely in that second half, being able to kind of put some really good scores together as well. So they would hope that, this is going to be their peak of their tournament here against Wales. And they're going to, basically what England need to do is England need to make France win the title. What they don't want to do is to lose this game and France just kind of win it by default, or somehow Ireland end up as champions. But England definitely don't want to kind of, be guessing or kind of regretting that, why didn't we just go for it against Wales? So they're going. I think they are going to go for it in this game, and I think in terms of the games through the day, they're going to get more and more exciting. I think Ireland against Italy will be exciting for a while. Wales and England, I think, will be exciting all the way through. It might be close as well, depending on whether England can have kind of a burst of scores in that second half or not. And then we'll talk about France and Scotland now in the preview for them. But that is the end of this one. Actually, prediction. I think, like, I'm going to be backing Wales, and it's not an anti-English thing. It's, for me, I back the URC, and I back the URC nations first. And for me, in the Six Nations, it's basically URC nations, then England, and then France is how. So for me, in terms of this weekend, it's kind of weird because, like, obviously I'd love Ireland to win the tournament. I don't think that's going to happen. But I want Wales to win the game, but I also want England to win the title. If that makes any sense, because I think England have the best chance of pipping France to the title. France certainly would be deserved champion. So in this game, I'm kind of going to have split loyalties, but at least whatever happens, it's going to be a good outcome for me. So that's kind of, win-win, I guess, on that one. But yeah, my prediction on this one is I think England are going to win this one, and they're going to get their bonus point as well. Okay, so let me know what you think down in the comments.